Hi friends, and welcome to another video. I went over on my Instagram and also here on YouTube and asked you to ask me some questions because it's been a while since I did a Q&A and there's a lot of new faces since the last time I did a Q&A. So yeah, I thought it'd be fun to kind of just chill and do a nice sit down video. Of course, I will kind of go back to my normal vlog type of videos next week, but I just thought this would be fun today. So yeah, let's get into questions. Okay, so the first question is, have you always been a fast reader? And I have to say, yes. I've always been able to read very, very quickly, and it kind of comes at my own detriment sometimes. I definitely forget books quite a bit. I forget plot points quite a bit, and I also have a very difficult time reading out loud, and that's because my brain and my eyes are all the way down the page before my mouth can follow along, if that makes sense. But yeah, I kind of have always been a fast reader, and it's been great for reviewing and for reading a lot of books this year. So these next two questions kind of go together, and that is, what books got you into reading and also what made me fall in love with reading? I have always been a reader from a very, very tiny child. I've always loved books. I have a really funny picture actually of me with my grandpa's glasses reading books. I just have always loved them. So I guess I kind of have to thank my mom for that, for really just making me love reading from a very early age. That being said, the books that I remember the earliest really enjoying were the Junie B. Jones books and the Magic Treehouse books, and the rest is kind of history. I've always just read tons of books. I was one of those kids that would go to the library every single day after school, every single day during the summer. I would bike to the library. I just have always loved reading and loved books and just magical worlds, fantasy worlds, all of those things. So yeah, kind of forever. This next question comes from one of my peers and one of my favorite booktubers, Emily. So if you have not checked out her channel, I highly recommend checking her out. She's amazing. I love her videos. But she asked, do you have any reading goals for this year? If so, how are you doing with them? So this is kind of a long story, but at the beginning of this year, I originally set the goal to read 100 books by the end of this year. I am kind of at the halfway point. I'm definitely behind technically, but I have 51 books under my belt now. However, I have completely become disillusioned with reading goals, and I am probably never gonna set one again. And the reasoning behind that is, one, I think putting a reading goal, although helpful to get me to read more, kind of ended up being more detrimental. I got really stressed out, feeling like I was constantly behind. I also felt like it took the joy out of reading for me because I felt very pressured to hurry on to the next book without really appreciating and sitting with the book that I've previously read. And honestly, I just don't think you need reading goals to be a reader, and I am really gonna steer clear of them from now on. I just feel like it puts a lot of pressure when there doesn't need to be pressure. Reading is a fun thing and it should be fun, and it just kind of took that away from me. So yeah, technically my goal for this year was 100 books. I still might make it, to be honest, but I am not keeping track anymore. So that's kind of my story with that. So who is your all-time favorite book character? That has to be Percy Jackson, the one and only. I love him to death. Every single book that I've read with him as the main character or just a side character or just in it in general has been the absolute best. I love it. It's so good. My top 5 favorite book genres, which I feel like is a lot. I feel like book genres kind of, that top 5 is quite a bit, but my top 3 at least are fantasy, sci-fi, and literary fiction. And if I had to choose 2 more, it'd be romance and thrillers. But I really read anything. I kind of jump between genres because I'm such a mood reader, so I will go back and forth between a million different things. But my three favorites that I always will go back to is definitely fantasy, literary fiction, and sci-fi. So yeah. Do you feel pressure with book talk hype that you need to keep your books looking good? I definitely used to when I first started out, especially on Bookstagram, posting like images and stuff. I definitely felt like I needed to make my books very beautiful looking and I needed to keep them very pristine and nice. But I was an English lit major before, and obviously I've read my entire life, and I've never been one to like keep books very nice. I am very much of the belief that if you love a book, it'll show it. A lot of the books that I've read over and over again are very destroyed, and I have to rebuy copies because they will be falling apart. And eventually, after like a year of trying to keep everything nice and looking good, I just kind of went back to my old ways. And in doing that, I kind of fell in love with BookTube again and with Bookstagram, and I'm just having fun with it now. So I definitely felt that pressure, but it's gone away since I've just kind of let myself do what I do best, and that means destroying books sometimes. Also, most of the books that I do read are library books, and I felt really pressured to like buy all of my books when I first started doing Bookstagram and BookTube, and it just wasn't sustainable for me. I also just love libraries. Libraries are incredible. They're such an amazing free resource that a lot of people can access. And I love supporting my local library. It's like walking distance from my house. So after I kind of got over the fact of like keeping books pretty or making pretty images and stuff, I just went back to using library books and different things like that. They might not be the prettiest photos out there or the most aesthetically pleasing things, but it's what I use. So I kind of it doesn't really bother me anymore. So the next question is, what zodiac are you? So I am a Capricorn sun, an Aquarius moon, and a Cancer rising. I don't really keep up with that very much. I do like to look at my horoscope every so often. I'm not a big astrology girly, but if you are, let me know kind of what that means. I'd love to know more. It's interesting to me, but I just don't take a lot of time to research it. So yeah. What are my top 3 favorite songs right now? My favorite songs at the moment are Who We Are by Hozier. It's honestly, his entire new album is on repeat in my headphones, in my car, constantly. It's so good, and if you have not listened to it, please, please do, especially if you are someone that has religious trauma. Calling myself out there. Or if you just like are really obsessed with Dante's Inferno, it's so good. I also am really obsessed with You're So Pretty by the Washia Project. I don't think I've ever said that out loud. I totally could be pronouncing that wrong, but I really love their music and I love that song so much. It's just gorgeous. The other song that has been on repeat, which has also kind of just been like the album on repeat, is Thoroughfare by Ethel Cain. Her album Preacher's Daughter is so incredible, and again, I feel like I'm just calling out my religious trauma here, but it's so good and I have listened to it a million times. Oh, I highly recommend listening to it. It's incredible. Okay, I'm gonna answer 2 questions with this. My top 3 favorite movies and also my favorite book to movie adaptation kind of coincide. So my top 3 favorite movies are Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's amazing. If you have not seen it, please, please watch it. It's, oh my goodness, I cry every single time I see it, and it just captures so many emotions perfectly. It's incredible. Definitely deserved to win Best Picture the year that it was released. My next favorite movie is Lilo and Stitch. That's been one of my favorite movies since I was little. I adore it, and as like a big sister myself and just like the sisterly relationship, it's perfect and I love it so much. It's one of those movies that if I'm watching it, I probably had a bad day and I have rewatched it a million times. It's like my ultimate comfort movie. Along those lines, and also my favorite book adaptation is Little Women 2019. I actually have done like a whole video on this, kind of, or at least chatting about my opinion on it, so I'll link that up here. But Greta Gerwig is just an incredible director, and Little Women, again, has that like sisterly bond. I grew up in a house full of sisters, and so it just, oh my goodness, it captures everything about that like life perfectly, and it also captures the feeling of the book perfectly, and so I love it. It's wonderful, fantastic. If you have not watched it, please, 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 please go watch it. The next question is, how would I describe my aesthetic? I don't really know. I feel like I kind of go through phases, but if I had to pick, it would kind of be like librarian with some fantasy witchiness sprinkled in. I'm not really sure. I definitely have some like academia vibes to me, but I'd love to know what y'all think. If you can like put me into a little aesthetic box, what would you put me in? Because I really don't know. I kind of, again, am just all over the place with that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about what aesthetic I would fit into. These next two questions are, do you read webtoons? Do you have a favorite? And do you have a favorite graphic novel? And I'm gonna kind of put those all together. Yes, I definitely read webtoons. I also read tons of graphic novels. They are 100% considered reading in my book. They are amazing. The talent that some of these people have is just mind-blowing to me, to tell a really fascinating story with the art style and keeping up with that. I don't know how these people do it, to be honest. But the webtoon that I recently really enjoyed is Castle Swimmer. It's an older webtoon, but it's still updating actually right now, and the author is officially making a graphic novel version that you can purchase. So I'm really excited to buy that because it's been kind of my recent obsession on webtoon. It's so cute, but here it is. Oh, Castle Swimmer, if you can see it. The next question is, what is your guilty pleasure read? I don't know if I necessarily have a guilty pleasure read, but like I don't really find anything that embarrassing anymore. I don't know, it just doesn't faze me. And I think with like this age of the internet, so many people are into so many different things that it's like, if it's cringe, whatever. That's kind of how I view it. But going along with that, I guess I would say fanfiction. And this next question is, does fanfiction count as reading? Do you have a favorite fanfic? I think fanfiction counts as reading. You're reading hundreds of thousands of words. I don't usually count fanfiction towards my book goals, but I read lots of it. I read it all the time. Recently, I've been reading a ton of Good Omens fanfics because of the ending of season 2, and I'm still devastated by it. So I have been fixing my life with fanfics, specifically Fix-It fanfics, which have been great. So if you have any fanfics that you've been enjoying recently, please let me know. I honestly think a lot of fanfictions are better than some published books that I read. So if you have any of those, please let me know what they are down below, because they're fantastic. This next question is, have you ever wanted to write a book, and what kind? I do want to write a book. I actually used to write all of the time in high school. I was part of my high school writing club, and I actually did almost finish a book, but I kind of fell out of love with the characters and the plot. So for a while I kind of fell out of writing. I just wasn't inspired by anything, but I have recently gotten inspired to write a fantasy novel that kind of treads the line between fantasy and literary fiction. Definitely a person-driven narrative. So look forward to writing vlogs in the future and also writing challenges. I've been really interested in trying author routines. So if you have any authors that you would like me to copy their routine for a week, let me know down below, because I definitely am going to be doing those very soon, and I'm really excited for it. This next question are, what are some new releases that I'm looking forward to, or any other books that I'm looking forward to reading in the future? So I would say like the main book that I'm looking forward to reading is Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. I've seen this again everywhere, and it just was released, I think like a couple weeks ago. So I'm really excited to kind of dig into this and really start reading it. But I do have to say, I am very much a mood reader, so I kind of go all over the place, and I don't know if I have any like specific books that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to read this. So we'll see. I think the majority of like the end of this year will be me focusing on reading my physical TBR. So yeah, again, we'll kind of see. It's very up in the air. I don't have like a direct list other than Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. So that's kind of it. All right, these next two questions kind of go together as well, and that is, any fun plans for the fall, and what are you most excited for your upcoming trip? So if you follow me on my personal Insta, you would know that I am actually going to Europe for a month, which is crazy. I never thought I'd be able to do a trip like this ever in my life, so I'm really excited to go. In fact, by the time this video is released, I will already be in Europe, which is really exciting. So make sure to check out my Instagram to see where I am at currently. But yeah, we're gonna do a really long trip, specifically to France, northern Italy, and Switzerland. I, again, am very excited for all of it, but specifically exploring France, I actually took 5 years of French, so I do know a little bit of the French language, and I definitely won't be speaking a lot of it just because I know I will get made fun of because of my accent, but it's definitely going to be kind of fun to go to all the places that I've learned about for 5+ years and kind of experience that and use a language that I've never been able to use before. So I think that's what I'm the most excited for, but again, I'm just excited to like have the opportunity to go. Because again, I just never thought that that would be in the cards for me. So that's really amazing. But yeah, if you are interested in following along, make sure to check out my Insta, and I will of course post lots of Europe vlogs here as well. So if you want to see that in the future, please feel free to subscribe. Again, I'm gonna make a lot of Europe content and of course a lot of book content. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this Q&A. It was fun to see all of your questions. If you have any other questions, you can list them down below. I will answer anything that you have down there, and I will see you next week. Bye!